What's up, guys? Thanks for being here. I'm Anthony with On the Snap. I am really excited about this one today. This was a bit of a breakthrough in my game, so we're going to be playing the Ghost in 10 ball, and I'm just going to share my practice session, 10 racks of playing 10 ball, and this was here on my home table, and I switched over to playing the Ghost in 10 ball because, to be honest, playing the Ghost in 9 ball was not feeling challenging enough, and that in and of itself feels like big progress. So I'm going to pause here for a sec. Before we get into this, I just want to show you the chart, kind of scores over time for my 9 ball games. And this was the same kind of drill. So you rack 9 ball, you break, you take ball in hand. You've seen this in my no spin videos. If you haven't seen those, check those out. Those are interesting too, and they actually factor into this chart that you see here. So the blue areas, the blue bars, are standard play for playing against the Ghost. And then you'll see in the green area, the green bars, those are no spin September. You can see it in the dates too, all the September dates. And the scores just tanked, right? Which you kind of would expect. And they were getting progressively better throughout that month. Then once I went back, the subsequent blue bars through the end of September into the beginning of October, scores immediately jumped up. You can ignore the 17. I think that was just a mistype from an incomplete drill. But yeah, what you're seeing here is some really interesting results from No Spin September. And I was seeing a big improvement in my game from running that drill. So we moved up to 10 ball here fairly recently. And if you're not familiar with 10 ball, it's basically just 9 ball with the additional 10 ball in there. The rack's pretty similar, but it's in the triangle shape instead of a diamond shape. You're running in rotation order 1 through 10. In this drill, early 10s count for points. You get a point for that 10 ball, but you do have to continue to run the rack. The goal is to get as many points as possible per rack. So you're going through 10 racks of 10 ball and basically just trying to get as many points as possible. The higher your score, the better the overall category. You can see in the bottom right hand corner of the screen here, there's the total points for 0 because we're on the first rack. The 1 next to that is the number grade. The letter grade is next to that, and then the category follows that. So opening up here, I decided to go for the 1-6 combination to clear the 6 out because it's going to simplify the 7-8-10 situation at the bottom of the table, having made the 9 on the break. And I needed to get the right angle on this 2 ball to take me towards the 3. So you could opt for going into the rail and coming out this way. I preferred to use the size of the pocket here, cheating it a little bit, and just sort of drag draw the cue ball across the table. This shot felt really good opening up this way, especially because the 4 ball doesn't go in the side pocket. I looked at that early in the rack. The 4 ball really only goes here, and I know that my window for the 4 is in this area. So let's see if my draw stroke gets us there. Just a little bit of a stretch leaning over the table, but should not be an issue. You're better off overplaying this compared to underplaying it, so I would rather have been up here, but unfortunately we do underplay this a little bit. I'm just taking my medicine here though. I'm going to accept the cut shot and know that the cue ball is going to be grazing off the 5 and going down table towards the 7. Just bear down and make this ball. Good speed control there. We're not having to shoot over the 7 ball, which is really nice. And the 4 ball went clean, center of the pocket. This really is the culmination of the mental game that I've talked about a lot in recent videos and having worked on a lot over the last year. Staying relaxed here at home, and I'm doing this drill, the Ghost drill. It is more in the competitive mindset, not the practice mindset. I'm trying to stay relaxed, trying to stay loose, basically picking my position windows based on everything that I know about where I want to be, and then just make the cue ball get there. We're a little full on the 7. I think we would have wanted to be back here to get this cut to go from the 7 to the 8, but we still have enough of an angle to punch across table and get a decent look at the 8 ball. And this is workable here. Maybe a little bit of low outside, if I'm feeling comfortable with the spin, which I think I was during this session. It was just yesterday, as a matter of fact. And this is a nice way to open up. Just put this 10 ball down, you open up with 10 points. For anyone who's interested, I'll be putting links in the description for the drill, kind of the background for playing the Ghost in 10 ball. Dr. Dave has a really good resource on that, so you'll see his website there. And then the scoring mechanic for this drill, just the kind of conventions around the 10 ball Ghost. It's basically based on the 9 ball Ghost drill. Each ball's worth a point. But whereas in the 9 ball Ghost drill, where the 9 is worth 2, the 10 is just worth 1, so each ball is worth a point. It simplifies the scoring a little bit. If you make a ball and scratch, that ball does not count towards your total. Balls down on the break do count towards your total. And any of these rotation games, those early shots are really essential. They're going to feel a little more difficult because there's more traffic on the table. You have to play really tidy position. So getting this opening spread from the 1 to the 2 to the 3, feeling really natural. Basically, they all want to lead to each other. You don't have to do that much with the cue ball in this layout. How good is it going to feel if we're able to get into this second rack and put up another 10? That's a good shot. So while I'm working through this, the 4 goes past the 10, by the way, so we really just need to make sure that we get the right angle on the 4 to get back on the 6. Nothing super complicated here. Basically just using the rail, open that up, get above the 4, and then fairly natural position from the 6 to the 7. We want to make sure we get on the right side of the 7 ball, the correct side of the 7 ball, to take us to the 8. While I'm working through this here, I'll show you the scoring convention. This is what was suggested in the AZ Billiards forum, and then Dr. Dave had some commentary about, he actually suggested that a scratch would incur a 2-point penalty, which I like. But yeah, here are the letter grades that you can end up with based on your total score. 10 ball's not easy, guys, as it turns out. I would encourage you to get out there and mess around with this drill a little bit and keep track of your score over time. It gives you a really good sense of where your game is at and a tangible way to measure that improvement just based on that total score. We're a little awkward here having to shoot around the 10, but I'm able to find a comfortable bridging position. And there are some times where I actually do like to put my forearm down on the table. I decided to come across table here, which is a little risky. Trying to hold the 6 ball. I'll come back to the score here in a second. I'm pulling a Drew, multiple story threads. But trying to hold the cue ball from the 6 is pretty tough, and if anything, you're going to end up in here, which means that you're going to have to power the 7 in and either come off the rail and out, or play into the bottom rail and back out for the 8. So I just preferred to come across table, and now I'm actually on the back side of the 7, so I'll have to use the side rail to come up and out for the 8. But this is just trust your stroke, play it firm, and come across. I hit that one really good. That one felt really good, and that's keeping me settled to succeed on that kind of shot. So meanwhile, yeah, we're looking at these higher grades, and you're talking about over the course of 10 racks having to get up to 60s and 70s. You're asking a lot from amateur players for sure. But I've been working on these drills for a good while now, between the 9-ball Ghost and then a couple sets of the 10-ball Ghost, which I'll show you at the end. Stick around, because I've got my little bar chart for my 10-ball scores. This is a good confidence stroke too. Plenty of room to operate to get down for the 10-ball, but it's my home table. I know the speed, right? I've got this thing memorized, and I know what it takes to get from that kind of 9-ball down to the angle on the 10. Played it clean. So that's another max score, already at 20. So we'll just pull this up again. You get to 30, 35, you've at least got a letter grade. You're going places. But you don't want to relax, right? Don't rest on your laurels. Just keep the pressure on. And playing the Ghost is that great simulation for playing a really strong player, somebody who is going to take advantage of those mistakes. I felt like I was breaking pretty well on this day of practice, and it's pretty interesting with this drill because you get ball in hand. You might relax a little too much and not worry so much about your break shot. You really need to be practicing break shots in general, but especially with rotation games like this. It took me a little while to get my 10 ball break dialed in, and I do break from pretty close to center table. I aim low on the cue ball to sight in just the center of the cue ball, and then as I kind of lift my body, it's lifting the tip position. There's obviously a ton that goes into a good break shot, and I don't want to go out of my depth here, but a little cat interference. So I'm picking my window here, and I knew that I needed a bit of an angle to work off the 2. I want to come out into this area for the 3 because that takes me towards the 4. And I can either come across table on the 3 or down past the 8, 9, and 10. I've gotten really comfortable with those shots. The sort of low outside, come across table and avoid the side pocket. That's just from drilling it. I've just put a bunch of time into practicing those. So like I said, 2 options here. You can go play the 3 a little fuller into the pocket, go a high ball with some inside, and come out into the center of the table. I like that because it's a big area to play the 4. Coming out and around, you're going to play into a smaller window, and you could end up down here something funky, and then you're kind of thin on the 4 and having to hold it. You still have a lot of room. I think they're both reasonable percentages, but this just felt a little safer to me. Yeah. So we know that we get up table, we play the 5, the 6 naturally wants to go on the side. What I start to get distracted by here is the 8 ball. And I end up coming to look at it. Do I have to consider an 8-10 combination? That's not going to be comfortable. I just could not figure out how I wanted to play this 8. Getting down where I have my cue right now from the 6 could be touchy. I think at a certain point I just sort of content myself with, I gotta just get the 4, 5, and the 6 down, and if I can't make something work with the 8, it's not a huge deal playing this drill. Unfortunately, because I decided to do that, I relaxed a little too much and I didn't get the kind of tidy position that I wanted on the 5. This is still a very makeable shot, but not really where I want it to be. So you get a little too loose and things can go wrong. Like you overcut it. Pretty silly. I did get a nice angle on the 6. Maybe the intention was to get up there on the 6 and roll into them. I didn't like that 8 ball. Just got distracted, so that's a 5. But again, not terrible, right? I think that's part of the thing is pay attention to having a good process. The results take care of themselves, the kind of stuff that we've talked about here before, but I would have been disappointed by that for sure. Getting 3 10s in a row would have been pretty nice. Here's an interesting situation. Getting on this 2 ball. This is that early game rotation thing. Like I said, getting really tidy position on those opening balls is essential. The 1 is tough. It doesn't really have its own pocket with the exception of the top left. You could play the combo into the 4, but then it's hard to control for where the 1 and the cue ball are going to go, especially because you have to get from that 1 ball, the weird 1 ball after the combo, down to the 2. I don't think I would play it. I don't think I end up playing it. I'm pretty sure I go top left here, and I choose my window for the 2, which is really anywhere in here. And I actually end up aiming for, I like to do this. I like to sort of sight myself in along the rail and choosing my window for that object ball from anywhere in here. That 2 ball's workable. And this is another one that I've spent a lot of time drilling. This long table follow, long table draw for speed control. Pop this in with the right speed and the right amount of follow. Good things can happen here. All right, You think having a nice opening shot like that would clear up this rack and make it a really simple out. I want you guys to buckle up. This one, this is probably the wildest rack that I've had in a rotation game. I don't want to give anything away, but so right off the bat, and just roll past the 8 instead of playing into the 8. What you need to do in that situation is punch the 2 ball in a little bit so that the cue ball pops into the 8 and pushes it out of your way. Now, I not only have to make a good shot on the 1 with good speed control to get on the 2, but I botched that, and I have to make a jump shot on the 3 ball with no guarantees for position. Unless you have a really accurate strike on your jump, you can put unintentional spin / follow or draw on the cue ball, and it can go wild on you. Luckily, I can kind of jump, so we should make this one. The drop elbow thing has been working out for me. We barely squeak that one in. We do not get hooked behind the 8, which is very lucky based on the speed coming off the 3 ball. We are hooked behind the 5. We don't have a clean look at the 4. And the rail first would be a lot more tempting coming from this side because there's more of the 4 ball to work with. The rail first that I have available to me is the long rail side, which is much thinner on the 4. It's pretty close, it might be hard to tell from this camera angle, but it's pretty close to the horn on the bottom side here on the short rail side. I'm taking my medicine. I am gonna spin at this a little bit just to open it up. Curve around, hit it pretty full, and it cooperates. And of course, we're left with a weird angle on the 5 because we hit the 2 ball so bad that the table needs to punish us a little bit. The 5 banks, I thought about that. It will go cross side here. You'd have to hit it pretty close to the 6 and tighten it up with spin or speed. I don't love that. I don't have a ton of practice with those, so I know that they're lower percentage for me. I end up going for the cut. I cut this guy in the side, and I let the cue ball come out and around for the 6. This is just make sure you know where you're cutting, line up, and deliver straight. It cooperates, and I end up under hitting this, which makes sense. It's hard to overhit that one. I don't want to just send the 5 ball wild. I don't get a good look at the 6, and it's frozen, of course. So I think the cross corner was on, but then you're sending the cue ball wild around the table. I end up coming cross side, attempting that, and I know that the cue ball's gonna want to do some weird stuff because I have to tighten it with opposite spin. Being off angle here, I use high right. And it plays true, but look at where we end up. I'm just laughing at myself at this point. At the table, I was laughing because it's like, what else can go wrong in this crazy rack? Full table cut shot. At least the 7's off the rail. You've got a little bit of the ball to work with because it'll go, the pocket's pretty big, right? But we need the pocket to be big in this case because, man, we are far away. Thin, deceptive, and the cue ball's on the rail to make it worse. It's also a reasonable scratch angle. If you cut this in, the cue ball wants to come right back down where it is. I do have to open up my stroke on this, though. You don't want to try to slow roll this in. You need to hit it with some authority to make sure that it's got enough juice to get to the pocket. So I open it up, probably too much, though, and I get dangerously close to scratching. Because I get dangerously close to scratching, without scratching, luckily, the table's like, here, have another weird situation. Very similar to the 5 that I cut in the side, but worse in this case. It's even more severe. It definitely goes. Like I said, home table, I know this one. And in fairness, I have not spent a ton of time practicing this actual cut shot. I should. But, priorities in life. But I gotta cut this guy in. I have to cut this in and then come around for the 9. It's going to take us almost right on top of the 9 if we make it. Oh, it cooperates. We're getting on top of the 9. We get right on the 9. Hey, a little thumbs up. I felt pretty good about that one, not gonna lie. Under pressure, feels good to execute that kind of shot. We're guaranteed 8 points unless we scratch somehow. I'd say we're guaranteed 9. There's no way I'm missing this 9 ball. Problem is the shape is a little awkward. It does look like you can draw straight back for the 10, but it was slightly off angle. So I decided to do some hero stuff and just like stun it out across table. I'm walking on air now. I got out of this rack and I was like, what the heck is going on in this practice session? Take a big sigh. Give myself a little pat on the back probably. And now we're into real money territory. So that's gonna put us up to 35. Right? Top end of D plus, almost a C. In terms of our rating. Yeah, we're still a D plus after all that hard work. But that's all right. We'll figure this out. Kind of wild on the cue ball that time. The speed I think was really good. Not as square of a hit. I learned so much from my 9-ball ghost drill about if you end up with ball in hand, playing that tidy position just simplifies everything so much. And getting from the 1 to the 2 is touchy here, unless you have a really good plan. I know that my window is this for the 2-ball, maybe even a little higher. Anywhere in this area is good. And again, like we've talked about, the window shrinks as you get closer to your object ball. So play for the biggest part of that position window. This is a huge tip. Play for the largest area. I'm using force follow, playing the 1. I naturally know that I want to come into the rail and out or just kind of down towards the 8. And I can see where I'm going. So I just pick my spot on the rail and basically you just tell your body to roll into that spot. You get perfect shape. As long as you know how to plan for that sort of thing and you pick the area that gives you the highest chance of success, yeah, your percentages go way up. It's hard to get bad on the 4-ball from that too. I think probably the only weird part here is from the 5 to the 7 and then the 7 back down to the 8, but we should be able to just pop off this 4. You don't have to do much, I would say. Yeah, if you get anywhere out here, come off the 5, stun out a little bit. I held it. I didn't really stroke that one. Not really sure why I let up on that, but it's going to be fine. You could even theoretically roll through this guy, but then you're bringing that 10 into play. So yeah, I don't love that. I think you just play the 5, stun off it a little bit. Anywhere in here, you're going to have something workable to get from the 7 to the 8. And based on the way I've been playing the low outside draw, center table is perfect to pull back. Yeah, we hit that pretty good. Looks like Doggy's got some business to attend to. This is another one where you could roll through this, but it's a lot of travel. It could definitely get there, but I'd prefer just don't overcomplicate it. Play the 7 sweep and draw back. This is where you want to hit on the rail. It will bring you towards the 8. Hard to overhit this one. Way less travel than the follow shot. Hit that pretty good. The worst thing that could happen here is you end up perfectly straight on the 8, but even then, you'd still have options. I mean, you could roll through here and play the 9 in the bottom right. If you get a little, you can cheat the 8 a little bit. You end up, you know, maybe rolling up. I think we're having to do that anyway, is to play the 9 in the right side. Yeah, that's fine. Could have gotten a little more out of that. Didn't quite get where I wanted to be. I wanted to be basically straight on the 9-ball so that it was a stop shot for the 9-10. We have to pinch this back a little bit to stay good on the 10. But that is not going to be an issue today. Sweet. I remember thinking after hitting that 10 that, you know, one of these racks has to be a run stopper because I'm getting so many points. Eventually the balls just have to like smack you down and just be like, here's a stupid rack where you can't do anything. But hey, look, we're a C+ player now. We got up to 45. Halfway through, that was our 5th rack. And here it is. The 2-ball is just buried down there. It will go in the top right. At least it has a pocket. It's not a cluster, so you don't have to roll into it necessarily. But I'm using my same skills by picking the window. The window is sort of between the 4 and the 6, so it's kind of this. It's hard to get there, and you certainly don't want to be threatening the side pocket. The play would be to hit this rail and bounce out towards the 4. I'm also seeing it today in terms of maybe you plan to roll into the 4. It's tough. No matter what you do here, I think it's tough. Unless you guys, if you can think of something, I would love to hear about it because this rack had me stumped. I felt like my best option was, oh, actually, in fairness, the 2-ball does go down here, but no, like who wants to try to get from the 1 to this window? I think that's gross. Let me know. Let me know what you think about this rack. It's a weird one. I end up using my kind of follow strategy, try to get down into this rail and get into that window on the 2. And I underhit it like a dweeb. Come on. You have to get to the rail at least. I think I just took my eye off the ball. I just didn't think about the importance of getting to the rail, use the rail to open it up, which I know, but I wasn't thinking about it in this case. So we underhit it. I've got a piece of the 2-ball, calling it cross corner, but I don't make these. I think this is a makeable shot, but I don't hit these. No way. All right. Was that 2 points? 1 on the break and then the 1-ball? It's gonna hurt. Gets us up to 47. Hey, we went up a grade. We're a B player now. All right, let's make something happen here. That one, in fairness, it wasn't like a stupid miss, you know, like not missing an open shot. It wasn't like the 5-ball from rack 3, I guess. A very makeable shot, but just sort of take your eyes off it to the point where you miss it. At least it wasn't that. It was very tough shape, and I made the object ball. So just in terms of all the things that could go wrong, not too broken up about that. This is an interesting rack too, because shape from the 1 to the 2, I think you'd naturally want to play the cue ball somewhere in here. Let the cue ball drift naturally towards the 2. You have to decide how to get from the 4 to the 6. That's basically the key. And you could do it from here. Or you could do the 4-ball on the side and come out off of it like this. I'm getting ahead of myself here because I'm basically just taking the 1 and the 2 for granted, but the 2-ball is essential for getting the right angle on the 4. I decided where I wanted to be on the 4, which was this line from the side pocket out to here. I want to be down in this area so that I can shoot the 4 on the side and have the cue ball roll up for the 6, and then I'm out. But the 4 to the 6 is the key shot. And I take a bit of extra time with this because it's how to get out. I do briefly, yeah, I look at this, what it would be like to try to stun over. It's a lot of cue ball travel, but to stun across table to get that angle for the 4. Looking back on it, that might have been the play. Make the 2 ball a little bit harder, because in this case, the 2 is simple. You're just rolling down. This is still a good angle, though. This is a very makeable. I don't know. I don't think I mind it either way. This is probably higher percentage overall. The difficulty of the 4-ball shot and the shape on the 6 is lower than trying to complicate the 2-ball and give yourself a harder shot on the 4. I think this is the better play. I don't think the natural tangent would have worked to just roll this ball down, so I felt like I had to stun back off it. It doesn't look like it from here, though. And I stand up on it. That's gonna hurt too. Missed opportunities. That was looking pretty good. I don't stand up that often. It's funny. We have 3 racks to go. Good break. Very solid hit on the 1. Cue ball squatted down. Everything spread out really well. You got to get out on this one, man. You got to get out here. With this kind of spread and ball in hand, only 8 balls on the table. Lots of ways you can play from the 1 to the 2, but I don't mind a blind shot when it's like this, where there's so much table, you don't have to be pinpoint. This is the key shot. I know that I want to come off the 2 out into the center of the table to where I'm straight enough on the 3 that I can draw straight back down table. A straight line would be fine, but you could also draw down into the rail. Getting tidy on the 4 is what's going to get you out of this rack. And you have to get reasonably perfect on the 3. This looks pretty good. We're on the right side of the ball. That's the other thing, that shot line idea. You don't want to be on this side of the 3 ball, otherwise it's taking you away from the 4, and you're almost never going to get back down for the right side of the 4. You have to make sure you're on the right hand side of that shot line. Kind of bobbled that one in, paying more attention to the shape than the shot, but it worked out for us. It's okay to cheat those, certainly. But probably my sloppiest execution so far in this set. This is good position on the 4. You really don't have to do much here. I might use a pinch of right hand spin just to get out away from the 6. This is our window. Get above the 6. Stop shot would be great. Overplay that. And look at how gross this is with the hand flip. All the way up table, on top of the 8, frozen to it, on a rail. So I'm having to shoot from the rail over a ball. Luckily, the rail kind of helps in this case. This is not an easy shot. Luckily, practice these a lot. Not gonna lie, that one felt pretty good too. And I take a minute to settle. You don't want to jump right into that next ball after doing something cool. This one we want to basically come low outside. You don't need much, but cue ball's gonna come back around naturally towards the 8. Let this float. You can spin this to help it around. I'm definitely spinning it here. Let that open up. There's a lot of room to operate. Worst thing that could happen is you get on top of the 8, but basically being straight on it would have been fine if you overspin it. You don't want too much angle. You don't want to be much farther out towards the center of the table. This is very workable here. This is the exact same kind of crossover low outside shot that I've used multiple times in the set. And we're lining up for another 10. It's looking pretty good. It's gonna be good. Puts us up to 61. It's a big jump. So we're going from 51 to 61. That jumps us 2 grades from a B+ to an A+. And with this drill, I'd be happy with A+. We have 2 more racks worth of points. That's a pretty nice break shot too. Slightly off center, you could see the cue ball hop off to the right. This one's a little funky though, check this out. Another tricky position from the 1 to the 2. I take some time with this. There's certainly a couple ways to get on the 2. The 2 ball naturally wants to go in the top right-hand corner. You know that the window for the 2 is going to be sort of one of these. So it's bigger up here, but not by much. Center table works. Getting between the 6 and the 9 is possible from a bunch of different places. You could put the cue ball here, play the 1 down there, and let the cue ball drift this way. But you really have to kind of go perfect speed. You have to trust your speed with that. I don't know if the 1 goes, I think the 1 probably goes in the top left, but I don't know. You're gonna have to contend with the 6. I don't love that. Don't think the 1 goes in the top right. You don't want to have to do that. I think you'd really be... the 1 might go in the side. Yeah, I look at that briefly. And this is that follow shot. You see where you're going, but you don't have a rail to shoot into. So you're just shooting into open space, and you need to put it on that piece of paper, basically. Doable. Probably low percentage, though. I scout that one out a little bit, and I don't end up liking it. To me, the best play here is cue ball in this area. Play the 1 here. Have the cue ball strike this rail. You know you're going into that rail and out into your zone. Because this shot is so crucial, you gotta take some time to figure out, to really make sure that you have a good plan. Then just commit to your plan and execute. Accept the result. Move on. Yeah, give yourself an angle that naturally sends you into that zone. Try to simplify this as much as possible. High ball, maybe slightly outside just to encourage it around the 6. And you're in the zone. You don't have to get cued here, right? You don't need to get super close to the 2 ball. This is a very makeable shot. Tricky part is the 10 ball's in play now. Cue ball wants to go towards the 10. And you could try to draw away from the 10, but man, then you're complicating it, making the shot a lot harder than it needs to be. I think I just kind of roll through this. Maybe a touch of outside, just to try to get the cue ball closer to the 3. Yeah, it looks like high outside. Pretty full into the 2. Played a good cut on that. We've got distance to deal with now, which is tough. But this is a take your medicine moment. Make this ball. You're going to have a look at the 4 and just deal with that. We overcut that a little bit, but it helped us get away from the rail. We have a workable angle in the 4, which is nice. It's tough though, man, because the cue ball does not want to go towards the 6. Low outside, you're going to kind of come out to this rail unless you really hammer it. It'd be tough. It'd be really tough to get this kind of shape on the 6. That's what you would want. If you're avoiding hitting the 7 and trying to kind of screw back off the 4, it's tough. You don't really want to roll through this because you'll hit the 7 and the cue ball's going to go down here. You could hook yourself. I try it and I let up on it a little bit. I can definitely hit it better than that. We're still okay. It's not great, but this is a makeable 6 ball. And at the right speed, sort of like medium soft, it comes around 2 rails towards the 7. But it's a reasonably thin cut. Kind of trick yourself on this. Yeah, I undercut it. But I had the right idea coming back around for the 7. So that one's tough. That could have been a 10. I mean, they all could have been 10s, I guess, but that one I felt like I was getting it dialed in. But we will take a 6. That puts us into A++ and superior territory. How many points do we need? So we're at a 67. Scratch on the break, which can't be good. I wonder if that can't count though, right? Maybe it does. I don't know. Dr. Dave probably says it does. If this ever starts to feel too easy, I'll add that modifier where a scratch on the break is a -2. It seems, I mean, no, it seems fair. But anyway, we're at a 67 without that rule being in place because I think we'd be down 4 points at least from scratches on the break. But we need to get to a 71. We want that pro status. Easy shape to the 2, but you do want to make sure you're on the right side of the 2, which is to say the left side of that shot line. If you're on this side, then you try to have to come across table, and it's a lot harder to get good on the 3. Just find a good place for your bridge hand here and naturally float down for the 3. This works kind of straight on it, which makes it tough, but I have enough angle to where I'll cut the 3 and punch up above the 4. Yeah, you've got a lot of room to work with this 3, so you can kind of a tip low, tip left. It's not as much about the spin as it is just the sort of stun action off the ball. Center table position for the 5 takes you right to the 6. Same kind of action there, right? Sort of stun it. Don't have to spin that at all. Use the rail to open it up, come back out. Float down for the 6, and then make sure you get good on the 8 so it takes you towards the 9. This is starting to look like a 10. Yep, just pinch back. And this is smooth, low outside. Anywhere into here is going to be fine. And it's player preference to go either more draw or more spin to get down there. I opt for a bit more spin than draw. In the Moscone, this is where they start to celebrate. That early celebration thing. I was doing it. I was doing it in my head. I was celebrating for sure. Imagine if we missed that 9 ball. No way. Not today. Let's go, dude. 77. Yeah, you did it, guy. You did it. So I go to put up my score. We'll see the total here. And then I'll show you the chart based on what I've been working on here with this 10-ball ghost. So check this out. First attempt was a 64, which in their scoring convention is not bad. high end of A plus. Like for a first attempt, that's not bad. And we jumped up to 82. So I had 82 at the end of October, which felt monstrous. And a 77 is still super strong here, right? Um, I'm probably, I would say if I'm getting into the 70s, I should be using the scratch rule. I think I'll start doing that. I think I'll start doing that next time. Because, yeah, we're at the point where there's enough going on in my game in the competitive sense that I can be challenging myself in practice. I'm going to start to bring that back. I'm going to start to bring the scratch rule in, deduct some of those points, challenge myself a little more. I think the next step after this is to start just getting into 15 ball rotation, which is a ball buster, pun intended. And yeah, we'll kind of see where that takes us. But thank you guys for checking this out. I was really proud of this practice session yesterday. I'm really enjoying getting these results. I'm really enjoying tracking it. I will be putting the materials, all the resources down into the comments. I would love to hear how this goes for you. Basically, consider the gauntlet thrown. Go try it. Go try the 9-ball ghost. Let me know what your scores are. Go try the 10-ball ghost if you're feeling up for it. Try and let me know how you guys are scoring on that. I want to hear about it. I want us all to work on this and practice and get better together, and then just see what kind of results we get in actual competitive play. This drill, playing against the ghost, really does put the pressure on in a similar way that competition does against a living person. But this is how you bust the ghost. So stay with me. We got a lot more content coming out, and thanks as always for being here.